Zodiac signs and their emotional weakness. Check timestamps for your sign. Aries. They become restless, defensive, or suddenly over it when they realize nothing they do can change the outcome. Hearing no is painful, but feeling powerless is worse. Their instinct is to act, fix, compete, or fight for another chance. When none of that works, the frustration often comes out as anger. People may assume their pride has been hurt when the deeper wound is helplessness. They can accept losing eventually. They struggle with having no move left to make. The best response is honesty without pity. They need time to understand that surrendering control is not the same as being weak. Taurus. The real damage begins when someone becomes inconsistent after finally making them feel safe. A changed routine is manageable. A person quietly changing the rules of the relationship is not. They may keep acting normally, holding on to familiar habits, because admitting that the foundation has shifted feels even more frightening. Others call it stubbornness, but much of it is disbelief. They trusted the pattern, the promises, and the version of the person who kept showing up. Once that changes, everything feels questionable. They need actions that remain steady over time, because reassurance means very little when tomorrow keeps contradicting what was said today. Gemini. Being misunderstood is frustrating. Being reduced to one bad moment feels unbearable. They can explain contradictions, change their mind, and hold several feelings at once, but other people may use that complexity as proof that they are unreliable or insincere. That is when the jokes increase, the subject changes, or they start talking so much that nobody reaches the real issue. It may look evasive, but they are trying to escape a version of themselves they do not recognize. Their soft spot is being decided too quickly. They need someone who remains curious after the easiest explanation stops making sense. Cancer. They get tired of being the person who notices everything first. The colder tone, the missing effort, the conversation that suddenly feels one-sided, they usually sense it before anyone admits something has changed. The deepest hurt comes when people happily receive their care but fail to notice when they need care back. At that point, they may stop reaching out, not to play a game, but because constantly maintaining the connection has become exhausting. Their silence is often disappointment, not punishment. They need to know their presence matters even when they are not comforting, helping, remembering, or holding everyone else together. Leo. They can tolerate criticism better than being treated as though they no longer matter. A harsh comment may bruise their pride, but private indifference reaches much deeper. When someone important stops noticing, appreciating, or choosing them, they may become louder, colder, busier, or unusually polished. It can look like attention-seeking, but underneath is the fear of becoming forgettable. They do not need endless applause or exaggerated praise. They need genuine signs that their presence still carries weight. The wound begins to heal when they understand they are valued, even when they are quiet, uncertain, unsuccessful, or not performing strength for anyone. Virgo. You did what you could is often the hardest sentence for them to accept. One mistake can erase 10 things they handled well, especially when another person was affected. They replay the detail they missed, the question they should have asked, or the moment they should have acted differently. Instead of falling apart publicly, they become more useful, more controlled, and even harder on themselves. People see competence and assume the guilt has passed. Usually, it has only gone underground. They need specific reassurance, not empty compliments. One mistake did not cancel every thoughtful thing they tried to do right. Libra. An argument is not always the problem. The coldness afterward is. Someone can say, "We're fine," but if the warmth disappears for 3 days, they will feel every inch of that distance. They may soften their opinion, apologize too quickly, or pretend the issue no longer matters because emotional tension feels like the beginning of an ending. Others may call them indecisive, but they are often deciding how much truth the connection can survive. Their weakness is not disagreement. It is uncertainty about whether love remains after conflict. They need proof that honesty can create tension without automatically destroying closeness. Scorpio. The worst betrayal is not being lied to. It is being understood accurately and then hurt in the exact place they exposed. They can survive someone disliking them, leaving them, or disagreeing with them. What changes them is realizing that private information, fear, or vulnerability was remembered and later used as a weapon. That is why they may disappear completely afterward. It is less about revenge than refusing to be studied that closely again. Their trust does not return because someone demands another chance. It returns slowly through accountability, patience, and repeated proof that knowing them will not become a form of power over them. Sagittarius. Failure hurts most when it makes the future feel already decided. A closed door, a disappointing relationship, or a dream that falls apart can create the terrifying thought that life may never become bigger than this moment. That is when they make new plans, book something, joke too soon, or chase a different possibility. People may mistake the movement for carelessness. In reality, they are trying to prove that the story is not over. Their emotional weakness is hopelessness, especially when disappointment begins shrinking their idea of who they could become. They need honest perspective, not pressure to pretend everything happens for a reason. Capricorn. They can carry an impossible amount until one failure makes them question their entire value. Being dependable is not just something they do. It often becomes part of who they believe they must be. When they cannot solve the problem, meet the expectation, or protect someone from disappointment, shame arrives quickly. Their response is usually more work, fewer words, and no request for comfort. People praise their strength while missing how inadequate they feel. They need to know respect does not disappear when they are tired, uncertain, or unsuccessful. Their worth cannot depend entirely on what they produce, provide, or hold together. Aquarius. The wound appears when someone first celebrates their differences, then slowly asks them to become easier. The unusual opinions were attractive until they became inconvenient. The independence was admirable until it could not be controlled. That shift hurts more than open rejection because it makes the original acceptance feel conditional. Their response is often distance. They stop explaining, reduce contact, and convince themselves the connection never mattered. It looks detached, but it is protection from being edited into a more manageable person. They need relationships where closeness does not come with a quiet list of traits they are expected to remove. Pisces. Being hurt is painful. Being made to feel foolish for caring is worse. They can survive disappointment, but emotional dismissal stays with them. You imagined it. It wasn't that deep. Or, you cared too much. Those words make them question not only the relationship, but their own ability to read what was real. They may retreat into memories, rewrite the ending privately, or act as though they no longer need an explanation. Others see sensitivity. Underneath it is humiliation. They believed something mattered and were embarrassed for believing it. They need honesty that does not mock their sincerity or turn tenderness into a character flaw. Conclusion. The part of someone that gets hurt most easily is usually connected to what they protect most fiercely. That is why anger, silence, humor, perfection, or distance can hide something much softer underneath. Emotional weakness is not always where someone breaks. Sometimes it is simply where they care the most. What hurts your sign more than people realize? And what do you usually do instead of admitting it? Share your answer in the comments and follow for more Zodiac insights without the recycled stereotypes.